said the champ is here, switch gears. We keeping haters in the rear. At the blood, sweat, and tears, and my goal so near. I see my way so clear. It's a game, we break through. 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 It's a game, we break through.
There we go. You'll love to see it, right? Is everything working? What's up, Spraggers? You're screwing with me. I hate you.
How you doing, man?
I was listening to that like, oh my god, if I just did all that work and it blew out again. You held it together pretty well there, though. I'm not gonna lie.
I did. Hey, I got a sneaky hot take. Can we start the show off with a sneaky hot take?
Always. What you got?
I feel like I would be a good actor. Now, hold on. I'm not saying like DiCaprio, Hanks. Like, I'm not even going like B-list movie. I'm talking like you could plop me down on the CW and give me about 12 lines per episode of a TV show, and you could trust that I would execute those rather well.
Is it because you're full of shit, or?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, well. To be full of shit, you have to be a piece of shit. So
there you go. I love it.
I have embraced who I am, and I think in a moment, if you're like, hey, Brandon, we're going to need your character to be this way, and deliver the line that way, I think I could hit it. I think I could do it.
Okay.
It's a random belief in myself. I never even did plays or anything growing up.
The only acting, quote unquote, that I've done is for commercials.
Right.
That's it. I don't think I've had any lines. It's mostly just been the walk.
What did you think about your guys' commercials? Just out of curiosity.
Okay, so those the promos sucked. We had ideas of stuff that we wanted. What's really irritating, not even irritating, it's more of like I look at other people who are like, oh, you're really that dumb. And I'm like, you really think I'm that dumb? You thought that was real? In which case, I'm a hell of an actor. Like, that's as far as I can take that. Like, the promos, you know what? Here, I'll tell you one. This is one that was shot down that had pretty much unanimous support. Joe was going to be in the bathroom in front of the mirror, like warming up his vocal cords, and, getting really low, like being real proud of himself. And then we were going to have Dan Sheldon like come out of the like one bathroom stall and go like, 3 octaves lower, like pat him on the back, like, nice job, Joe. And the great part about this is Joe's, 5'8", and Sheldon's about 6'1", so it would have been like him patting a little kid on the head. And then Dan was going to feel really good about himself, and then you're going to hear the toilet flush again, and out walked Mark Mason, just with all the bass in the world, and be like,
oh,
keep it up, guys, and just have him walk out.
That's a good idea.
Like right.
Why didn't they nix that?
Because it was too fun.
See, that's one of the many failures of companies like that is not listening to the. First of all, you hire people, and look, I don't mean this in a douchey way, but technically the title is talent. Right? Whatever that.
We've
means,
all signed
right?
our talent contracts. We've got our talent reps or agents. Yeah, no, it's a real thing, people.
Whatever that stupid term really means. But it's funny that they hire talent, and then when the talent gives a suggestion on content, they're like, you know what?
Nah.
I think we're gonna button it up. And it's like, okay, so you're gonna have me drive a Dodge Ram in the streets? Like, that's more hilarious.
Oh, do you remember that?
Oh, I remember that. Because I was always like, this is such a. Just call it a Dodge commercial, really. I mean, it's
so the night that we shot that commercial, we went to 3 different locations. We were sober at the time of driving, but as the night went on, we were not. And we were right across like one of the scenes is filming Joe getting in and out of the truck.
Mm-hmm.
And across the street is Helium Comedy Club, where Shane was the host at the time. And there's 12, 15 comics, like the biggest Portland comics, watching this. They're all friends of ours. You know, they came on the show and stuff like that. And they are heckling the bejesus out of all of us. We couldn't keep our shit straight. It was... They were absolutely vicious, and we're just trying to keep a straight face while we're filming, like, literally Joe just walking 12 feet. And it's just one-liner after one-liner after one-liner. And the entire production staff, you know, you got guys there sitting there holding the lights, and they're going... just shaking uncontrollably. Camera guys just dropping the camera because they can't keep it together.
Yeah.
Joe trying not to lose it. That entire thing we filmed over one night, and it was like 6 hours just for a minute 30. That's the thing that I always found to be just wild about that. Like, yeah, you film here, you film that. You're like, no, another take. No, another take. No, another take. And you're just like,
okay.
How many times can I walk making the same stupid look on my face?
I'll give you a quick story, and then we dive into the pod. Once upon a time, I worked at Comcast when it was Comcast Sportsnet Northwest. Yeah, csnnw.com. And it was my first job out of college, and I covered Oregon State athletics, mainly men's basketball and football. It's really all they cared about.
They were the great program then, too.
No, they weren't. As a low blow. So Jen Burley, who used to work at the Oregonian, she's now doing stuff with Portland Diamond Project. She also, it was her first job out of college. She covered the Oregon Ducks. She went to Oregon. They hired her out of Eugene, and then I went to Oregon State, and I got connected through somebody that I did some stuff with at college. And so I'm covering Oregon State. She's covering Oregon. So we come up, and we do these photos, and then they send us off with all this equipment, and we start covering. And right before camp gets going in fall, they're like, hey, we want to do a joint promotional commercial. And I was like, a commercial? Yes. And so we drive to Portland, and we go to this boxing gym somewhere in Southeast Portland. It's like near Stark or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So we go there. I'd never been in a boxing gym before. And so we walk in there, and I'm like, oh no, a gym. And my first thought, just being who I was in that moment, my first thought was, oh no, I'm going to be shirtless, and I'm kind of fat right now. Like, that's all I was thinking about. And I'm like, Jen just gets to wear whatever. And like, I'm going to be shirtless. Like, let's go, like some stupid. So anyways, they're running us through this idea, and they're like, we want you guys to get in the ring, and we want you to jab a punch at each other. And we're going to play it up during the game formerly known as the Civil War. And we're going to drive up the hype. And, Oregon and Oregon State had just played two pivotal Civil War games in 2008 and 2009,
Mm-hmm.
and this is 2011. So it's like, all right, here we go. We were there for half the day. Hey, we need Jen to do this. Hey, we need Brandon Solo to do this. Hey, Jen and Brandon. You know what I mean? It's like
all the different angles and all the different cuts. Yeah.
All the different angles. We're there for half a day. I walk out, and I'm like, not my cup of tea of a commercial, but
hey, why not?
It looks like I'm committing domestic violence, but it's I'm on a TV commercial. This is cool.
Yeah.
I drive by. So the season plays out, and to wrap the story up, I'll tell you right now, we spent half the day there. They never even aired it once.
Oh yeah, no, we had a handful that never aired
because Oregon State went 3-9. And
it didn't matter.
And the Civil War, we all knew Civil War was going to be a blowout. It was in Eugene. That Oregon State team is one of the worst in like the last 25 years, maybe 30 years. And they were like, there's no interest. We're not pubbing this. And I'm like, you're not even going to air the commercial once? No. And he goes, no, it's not really worth it for us. And I go, then why did I spend half a day there? That was frustrating to me.
Yeah, no, that's we have a handful of those. It seemed like the ones that we hated the most were the ones that made air. That's typically how it went. It was,
go figure.
Intensive purposes was the one. Everybody ran. I bet you it's intensive. Like, I've gotten that on Twitter like probably 24 times from people who really thought that was real. And it's just like, it's mildly frustrating. Not that people like throw it at me. It's that they thought it was real.
I forgot about that commercial, and I forgot to make fun of you for that commercial.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys are better than that. That's, you know what I mean? Like, you're better than one-word corrections. You had great ideas. They just didn't run them.
I'll tell you. I'll give you the other one. We were gonna do one where like the show ends and like a side camera like behind the scenes, and Joe was gonna turn into the go from like every man to like the most evil human being on the face of the planet. Like, soon as the light cut off, slick back the hair, light a cigarette, somebody would like look him in the eye, be like, don't look me in the eyes, that kind of a thing. We were gonna like walk him through the entire NBC complex, like a mob boss.
See, these are things they should be listening to, because they were better than what they gave you.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a commercial. Last thing for me, and then we can start. We did have one commercial, but it was like a hey, come check us out at CSNNW. And honestly, looking back, CSNNW at the time, gotta be pretty proud of being a part of this cast. We had Ian Carmel.
There was a ton of people there. Are you kidding?
We had Dwight. We had Abby Chin, who's killing it in Boston. We had Chris Haynes starting on the beat. We had Jen Burley, who's doing great stuff with the Portland Diamond Project. Like, we were pretty loaded.
Yeah.
And one commercial was basically like, tune us in this fall, this winter, CSNNW. And it was like a picture or a quick snapshot of everybody. It's like Dwight James, and it's like Abby Chin, and then it goes, and Brandon Sprague on Beeves. And the thing they chose to use, I must have did 2 hours of photos. The thing they chose to use, Danny, was me like this, in all black, by the way. Black tie, black shirt, and it's me like this with a football. And I'm like, oh my God, you made me maybe the douchiest human being of all time.
Oh, really? Did they use the picture of you where they jokingly like said, give me the thinker, and you were like, and then they used that in every single promo? Because they did that to me for 3 goddamn years, Brandon. The picture that I hated more than anything, they used for everything. And it was, again, we're doing entirely behind, inside baseball stuff. But like, these are like this, like when people say these like the things that go on besides like the fun of the job, this is all the other stuff that comes along with it. Not that it's terrible. It's just like, it's so many random things that come up in doing this. There's, from that promo shoot day, I've still got it on my phone. Joe, Shane, and I have spent like a whopping 10 minutes together outside of, doing these pictures. Like, we just don't really know each other. And I was like, I don't know what spawned it. I was like, we want to do a human pyramid. So there's a picture of Shane and I on the bottom with Joe on top of us doing a human pyramid that they have for promo purposes. I took a picture of it, and I was like, oh my God, the desperation that we went to. Speaking of desperation, thank you all for joining us. The people are piling in. We didn't go our usual 15 minutes. We finished in 13 minutes worth of BSing before we got into stuff. Jesse, Jabansby, Nibble, Lessery, Ahmad, Johnny, Munrick, everybody, appreciate y'all. New day, new time. This is probably when we'll try to keep things around 5, 6 on Wednesdays.
Yeah, it might vary from 5 to 6.
Yeah, that's kind of how it goes. People here asking, were they training at Tualatin High School? I think they were training at Tualatin. That's usually
it's Tualatin.
It's where they usually do it. I hadn't asked, so. Yeah, for those that don't know, the practice facility is in Tualatin. It's right down the street from Bridgeport. So Tualatin High School is literally 2 turns away.
Yeah.
Not that far. So, taking away from the photos from that day, did you see Nurk holding the football?
I didn't see that. Yeah. One of the pictures?
Yeah. He's got like a little bit of like a quarterback pose. Except for he's like holding the middle of the football with the laces out.
He's one of those, he doesn't know anything about football, but they're playing it, so he's just playing along.
Yep, 100%. 100%. Future guest on the pod, Anthony Simmons, he said that he can throw that thing. So there might be a challenge.
How far?
That was my question, and he told me that I'd have to see it for myself.
How far do you think you could throw?
Healthy? 40,
assuming you could
45. 40, 45. What's weird is I have really tiny hands. So it's kind of hard for me to get like a good grip on a football, especially like an NFL football. I had a hell of an arm playing baseball. I one hot from center, no problem. But football is just a little bit of a different beast for me. But I still am just strong enough to air it out. But I've played with guys who played in the NFL, and that's a terrifying thing. Have you ever caught a pass from a guy who's like a legit D1 or an NFL quarterback?
Yeah. I mean, you can feel it, you can hear it. Like it
hurts.
There's a difference. There's a difference.
You don't catch the ball like to catch it. You catch it in self-defense.
But were you catching it with stickum gloves like these receivers get nowadays?
No, barehanded. Just boonk. Yeah.
It's different when you get the gloves though.
Yeah, you feel it like the ball, like it's like put a screw into wood. Like when the screw gets hot, like it gets hot coming into your hand, because it's spinning so fast. It's like,
and you can hear that.
Yeah. It comes up on you quick, man. So, Ant says he can throw that thing though. So we're gonna put that one to the test. So, I guess now's a good time to say. Nibble says one-on-one pod was dope, by the way. Yep. Thank you guys. The Greg Brown interview was awesome. I haven't really pubbed it too much because we haven't dropped it on Blazers Edge yet. I think we're gonna do that tomorrow. It's just kind of sitting there out in the ether. But anybody who's subscribed can see it already. I do have Anthony Simmons tomorrow. So I
will not be on that one either.
No, you will. You are going to be on that one. I thought we scheduled it so you could be in there. No, 3.
2. Oh, is it 3?
Yeah, I bumped it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
okay, I'll be on that.
Yeah, I called him, get him on.
Go.
Oh, there we go. I see the homie Black Cheese, Justin Cheeseman. What's going on, buddy?
Do you know what they say about small hands?
Small gloves.
That's true.
Yeah, I have said this before. I'm like God's Mr. Potato Head. I have giant feet. Miniature legs. Oh, thank you, She's little gifted sub. I appreciate you, buddy. But my legs would match like somebody who's like 5'6", but my upper body is like somebody who matches somebody that's like 6'4". Yeah, no, it makes no sense. I was put together spare parts. My wingspan is 6'6", but I've got these little tiny cup hands. It doesn't make any sense at all. It's just like, what do we got? We'll work with that. But yeah, no, we're gonna have Ant tomorrow. I think that's gonna be really cool because a lot of people and a big brain. I don't know if I got a big brain. I just make some big brain moves every now and then. I just you make enough mistakes in life and you just kind of pick up. Okay, this is where I'm gonna go here. So I'm gonna go.
Hopefully,
here.
you learn from it. Yeah,
right. But yeah, we obviously had the one-on-one with Greg. You've got a hit with Greg that you're gonna play on 1080 coming up, and then we'll have Ant tomorrow. We'll probably spend about 30-40 minutes with him, just like we did with Greg.
Yeah.
If you guys have got questions, feel free to DM to me. I'll actually, you know what? I'll do it right now while I'm talking. I am working to book a few other guys in the next week or so with camp starting, media day, all that kind of stuff. It kind of gets a little bit busy as far as tracking guys down. So we got a ton coming up, including some guests on media day. We are going to go live on media day. So it's just a matter of what time and when we're going to slot stuff in. Chauncey, Neil, and a few players are going to be available on media day. I'm not certain yet whether or not I'm going to be there in person, but they are carrying it on stream. So,
you might go to that?
I might go. It all depends. I'm probably going to submit for my credential today, so we'll see what happens. See if they lock me out.
Are you going to ask a question if you go?
To the players, probably.
No, not to the players.
To Chauncey, maybe.
To not Chauncey.
No. Listen, Neil and
you don't want to dive into those waters?
No, Neil and I have talked a few times, and it's enough for me. We'll leave it there. It's enough.
Has he had something to say about some stuff?
We've had a few discussions. Okay,
come on, man, just share the dirt. Like, he ain't coming over for a barbecue. Who cares? I'll tell you right now. I've never talked to the dude, and honestly, he would probably give me the "I've never heard of you," but yeah, I know that guy knows.
Yeah, no, and that's like when I got the job at NBC, there were people who had objections to it. So,
what did you do prior to NBC that that got somebody to say, I don't want that particular person?
Blazers
I mean,
Edge.
I know you were, but did you so he got that offended by some opinion pieces on Blazers Edge? Yikes.
Yeah. That was the world that I stumbled into on day one. So, good times. That's how you want to start out your professional media career. Yeah, they don't want you here.
Welcome to the show, kid.
So, good times. Avoiding questions like Neil Olshey. Hey, you know what? I learned from the master. I got to bifurcate my processes, okay?
I'm looking forward to it, though. It is their first presser.
Yeah.
I'm really just looking forward to hearing no matter what he ends up saying. And, we kind of have a general idea of where he's probably going to go. I'm just genuinely curious to hear what the questions are regarding roster building this summer, moves, no moves. I'm fascinated at what he is going to say. I have an idea, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be right. So I can't wait to hear what he has to say.
I'm always surprised the
In
way
what way?
he spins certain things. Like, I have a pretty good idea of how things are going to go. I usually end up getting about 80-85% of it right. But every now and then he'll take something way further out. The throwing Terry under the bus, backing over him, and then dropping gears over the dead body was like I expected a little bit, but not in the fashion that he did it. That definitely caught me off. Dan needs a water bottle. Yeah. My signal.
I feel like, though, that particular press conference, I think because of how sudden the season ended, and I think what he may or may not ever admit is I do genuinely believe he was stunned that they lost that series. Not only just lost the series, they lost it in 6.
Embarrassing fashion.
And his guy had a really bad performance, and Nurkic kept foul. I felt like that one series, we all reacted properly. And I think it really floored him to watch the team in the core he believes in not even be able to get boat raced by that team without their star player. So I think it was partially that, and he didn't really want to do that, that press conference, but he did it. And then some of the questions started coming in, and even when they just needled a little bit, I think he started to let it get his blood boiling.
Oh, no, he got visibly frustrated multiple times.
Right, and I think that's what we saw. That's why you saw the Terry thing, and maybe normally he wouldn't have completely thrown him under, but in that moment, it pissed him off so bad. So, that was not a great moment. The Chauncey presser wasn't a great moment. I'm curious to see how this goes.
And that's the thing is that Neil irritates me for the way he does things, but on the flip side of it, I know why he does it certain ways. Like, controlling the media narrative is easy to do in this market. It just is. There's only so many people. There's not a dedicated beat reporter for the TV network that's there now. Obviously, with NBC, going away, that's less people that are going to be on that beat. That's less questions in that room. So that's going to be a little bit interesting, at least as far as how that's going to go. I know a couple people that are going to be there that have some questions prepared in certain fashions as far as what they're going to ask. Not that I don't care. It's that more or less I don't really care what he has to say in that setting. Does that make sense?
No.
If I got him to the side of the back. Well, I mean, for me, if I got him in the hallway and he was gonna no BS me, then I'd probably be interested in what he had to say. Because you and I have talked about this offline. I don't necessarily, not even necessarily, I don't really want to be a part of the reporter world. I don't want to break stories. That's not how I want to do things. I want to have information so that when I'm talking about things, I have a better understanding. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So in that respect, and to be honest, I probably am not necessarily qualified, but I probably wouldn't be asking the best questions.
Well, I'm also not going to act like I've seen those press conferences in the middle of when everybody should be asking on the same thing to keep the narrative and the questioning going. Yeah. They go, Neil, could you walk us through defensively how and it's like, that's the question you're going to ask? I'm not going to name names, but
yeah,
there's just certain people they don't want to, they're not there to cause waves, because whether it's right or not, it's such a small town that it's like, I think they should be treating the media a lot better, but they can treat the media how they want. And there's no,
because nobody's punching down.
There's no. So like, yeah, I think there's some good people that go to those and ask good questions. I also think there's a couple of them that you're kind of like, are you at the same press conference as me?
You just kind of,
that's why I don't go either. I just, if he wanted to do a radio interview, bro, like the invite has always been there. We've tried for years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not a lack of not wanting to talk. I'm one that I'd rather converse and ask my own questions, and instead of like doing one question in a setting where
it's a controlled environment. It's
a controlled environment. There's 4 different directions that these people in this room might go, other than one I want to go to. So I also don't write. I'm not there to get audio. Like, it's just not my gig.
Yeah, for me, when talking about the whole idea of like asking questions, if I'm going to go to one of these and ask questions, the person I probably want to talk to is going to be more often than not the coach, to understand like framing of things, but more specifically the players. Hey, what happened here and why? Like, that to me is infinitely more important throughout a season than a lot of the higher level stuff.
Sure.
Because like, how many times have we heard over the years, hey, there was this play in the third quarter, this happened. Unless it was like a fight or a pivotal moment, you don't really get that minutia. But every now and then we get these, and not even just with the Blazers, just nationally in coverage. Have you ever seen one of those clips that end up going viral and all the comments are like, man, I wish we got more questions like this? And it's like, you all know you can ask these kind of questions regularly, right? That's allowed. But we're so conditioned to just try to get through the same thing over and over again that I think that gets thrown under the bus pretty regularly.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. There's a lot of avenues the media, for good and bad, like they miss them, and it is what it is. There's only a handful of those people able to ask those questions anyway. I also think this year's interesting from just looking at the media part of this. Will they be allowed in locker rooms? Is the NBA going to go NHL? And if you're vaccinated, you can go.
The NHL's been great in this regard.
Right. They've
been
more
they
proactive.
did way more than I thought they were going to do.
I see. This is what I'm wondering. I'm wondering to see what the NBA decides to do with this. Not to say they're canceling locker room interviews forever, but the Zoom thing, it worked, and it satisfies the obligation. And there's a lot of nights that those people don't want to do the obligation. So you get the media in. It's Damian Lillard. I walk in the locker room all the time, and you got guys in towels, and Dame's changing and putting lotion on, and we're all like, bro, when Dame comes out of the shower, if this is, well, I guess you can't see it, but like everybody just starts hoarding like this.
Oh,
yeah. Floating towards his locker because everybody's got the camera and everybody wants to record her. And, sometimes you're like leaning on people and you feel like you're rude, but everybody kind of knows it's the situation. The Zoom thing has none of that. And it's like,
no.
Dame can
But
say
again, that's
whatever
a
he
controlled
wants.
environment again, where a lot of the stuff, and guys like Quick and Richmond who have been on the beat for a long time, and James, they'll tell you the same thing. Most of what they get is not in those scrums. And I
know it's the sidling. It's the hey, how's things going? It's the texting. Like
cameras are off, recorders are off, and you're building those relationships.
But as you know, there's a lot of people. If Quick is after a Dame story, you can tell.
Oh, you 100% know that Quick is what he's writing.
If Quick is after a Rocco story, you're gonna tell. Because even though you don't get anything from the group setting, man, I've walked past a Jason Quick and heard him ask a question to a Myers or something in the past and get a great answer that he ends up using for a really good piece. Mm-hmm. So yes and no. In the major groupings, you don't get much. You get fluff unless you get like LeBron randomly wanting to speak his mind on something. But it's more once they do the one-on-ones, once they just kind of that's what that environment is for. And if you eliminate it for Zoom, it's going to be tough for a lot of reporters who aren't able to build rapport. There are beat reporters, Danny, who have been on the beat and haven't been able to go interact with players face to face
for 2 years.
For 2 years. Like, that matters too. So
Yeah.
those people's livelihood is on the line of how sourced are you? It's like, well, how sourced can I possibly be? I can't get within 6
I
feet of
can't.
anybody.
Yeah, I can't. Literally can't go in the locker room. And if I get, and heaven forbid, you went near a player last year, like it wasn't
Right.
It wasn't allowed. Like 2 years ago, I'm down on the floor like everybody else in the media pregame, talking to guys. Hey, what's going on? How you doing? How you feeling? Da 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 da. Same old, just chatting guys up, and that's from the assistant coaches up to the players and executives. Like that's just, and you've done this for years. For anybody else who wasn't familiar with this, media gets in there at normal tips at 7. We're in there at 3:30, 4 o'clock. And you get in there, and it's like high school, right? Like you have like the groups of people like in the media room that eat together before every game.
The beat guys normally eat with only the beat guys. They also sit together to watch Dame and the Blazers shoot. And I have good relationships with like Richmond and Freeman and Quick when they all were like covering the Blazers on the beat. But it always felt like even though they liked me, I wasn't allowed to sit with them pregame. And they'd just be right there in their little 3-foursome, and Holdall would come over too. And like, I'm cool with all these people, but I always felt like way out of the clique. Like it was very cliquish, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna go bother. I'll just talk to those guys individually when I see them.
See, that's the difference between you and me. I went in and just like forcibly put myself in those situations.
Yeah, I did. You got to read the vibe, and
no, not for me. I just bulldoze my way in there like I do everything.
Well, I like to be liked, so I'm sorry.
See, that's what I said. Like you're a lot more likable than I am. That's you just didn't understand that. I just don't care in that regard.
So Monday is important. Point of this whole rambling was Monday is important,
and to see kind of what it does for set the tone. I can't wait for Hyken questions for Olshey. Listen, I'm sure Sean Gunderson, Richmond, Quick. Remember, nobody from the organization has been available since the Chauncey presser. There's a lot of questions to be asked. I would expect a lot of questions.
Dame had the USA,
but that's not the Blazers organization. That's Team USA.
Oh, my laptop's gonna die. Hold on, I gotta charge it.
You gotta love it, right? I saw a few things in here. They're just cliches, anyways. Yeah, they are. Simmons to Portland confirmed. I don't know. We'll get into the Simmons stuff here in a little bit, but I just. And that's not me. Don't get twisted. I want Ben here. Let me don't think I'm trying to split anything here. I just don't believe the Blazers are that locked in on him. That's for sure. Shelby R. Blazers went 20-16 home last year. Is there a universe where just having fans back will help his team elevate in the standings? Just being normal may help his team a bit. No isn't the question mark. I think there's an opportunity for that. And here's the thing. I think when we talk about not just the Blazers, but winning in general and records, Brandon, everybody wants to go, well, if this, then that. Like, if everything else is going to stay static, and if we just do this, then things will go up. They'll win more. They'll do this. And everything else holds true. And that's never the case. Nothing is ever static. And that's why the whole, well, they did this last year, or the starting lineup had the 5th highest net rating, that kind of stuff. It's like, cool, but that's also a really small sample size in a COVID year. I don't know how much you can really put into that stock. You can take what you have and try to build off of it. But overall, Portland has had, and if you want to talk about like larger sample sizes, Portland's had one of the better home records throughout their entire existence as a franchise. So if people are getting back in there at full capacity and things are comfortable again, yeah, I would expect that the Blazers are a better home team this next year, right?
I think it's a good question because it's something I was recently thinking about. I was reading a thing. I know we'll get to Karl Anthony-Towns in Minnesota. Did you see this stat? I don't know if you saw the stat. Do you know the Minnesota Timberwolves have never finished above 500 against the spread? They haven't done that since 2003.
So since Kevin Garnett and a few years.
Do you know how bad you have to be as a team to be below 500 every single year in gambling like that? You have to be truly, truly awful.
They're just all over the place.
That being said, one of the reasons I was reading is you notice I've noticed in the trend in college football, aside from it being a little chaotic, there's an adjustment that you're seeing with players in college football, I believe, playing in front of fans. I think there is an element of we haven't done it in a minute. And I'm not saying NBA players are going to be college guys, but it's something I was thinking about is what's the impact going to be in Utah, in Denver, now that they like their team, Portland, you name it. With Denver's crowd kind of sucks. Let's be honest.
Well, yeah, no, playing at Mile High has always been their advantage.
Right. It's not the crowd. But these places that do, Toronto is a good one. They didn't even play in Toronto. The Knicks fans, like having these people back, and we got them at the end of the postseason.
And the players all said the same thing, that they felt it.
Right, but imagine now it's going to be full capacity. It's no longer like some places.
Well, except for New Orleans,
40%.
they just don't show up for fans.
They need to be in Seattle. But that being said, I think that's a part of this, and I think it's going to matter for some teams.
Here's the other thing that it doesn't get tossed around a ton. Go look at the shooting splits in the bubble in Florida. Everybody shot the lights out. You know why? Consistent backdrops. Like there's actual science behind it.
It was the same gym. Oh, yeah, the sight line is a real thing. That's why college basketball players suck when they play national championships in football stadiums. The sight lines fuck them up.
Your depth perception goes to hell.
Yep.
And that does happen in NBA arenas too, where if they had like a black mat behind it, like they did in the bubble, all of a sudden it's like playing it. The blackout runs. You've everything is consistent. You don't have anything interrupting or disrupting it, and that's why you saw guys everyone shot the living hell out of the ball in the bubble. And I was like, is it because there's no travel? And they're like, well, that probably plays a part in this. Like everybody's more well rested, everybody's on the same rhythm, all that kind of stuff. And they started doing some research behind it, and it was like, oh yeah, no, the sight lines and the backdrops and the consistency made a big difference. And so you had guys who were, career 35% 3-point shooters shooting 42, 43, 44%. And you're like, why is everybody hot right now? So I think that's going to be an adjustment. And what's going to be weird is these young guys that have been in the league for 2 years, right? That have never really, really had fans, had to really travel, how impactful it's going to be. And those guys who got drafted 2 years ago have never played an 82-game season.
That's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah.
That's going to be big. Oh,
you
man,
know
they're going to feel that.
66 games and 72 games. They're 10 games on top of that. Like, it's like building towards it. Like you're hitting your junior year and like, okay, now you're ready to play a full 82. But that's going to be another thing because you're throwing more games in a tighter span. I wonder how impactful that's going to be when it all kind of comes together. Das says, is Sprague betting against every Timberwolves line this year now?
I mean, I don't know. Based on the fact that they're going to lose Karl Anthony-Towns in 2 months, yeah, I think you have to.
You know what? Let's get into that now. We've got some big NBA news. We'll circle back to the Blazers here in a minute. The Timberwolves fired their president in Gersson Rosas. Like,
where did that come from?
I had heard things that weren't great, but
firing a GM like.
And here's the thing:
camp?
It wasn't a mutually agreed parting of ways. There's a reason why I quote tweeted the Woj tweet because the word they used was dismissed. Dismissed is not good terms.
Yeah, did he? Well, I'm okay. I'm not going to speculate.
We can't speculate.
Awful stuff.
Yeah,
but
that's the thing.
Something clearly went down, and we're either never finding out about it, or we're going to get a great juicy story.
Yeah, I have heard some things that are unsavory. I'll leave it at that for now because I haven't been able to confirm it yet. But yeah, it's not good. When your star player tweets out moments later, WTF, Karl Anthony-Towns, things are not well. Now, I'm prone to believe that there's probably something akin here tied to Ben Simmons. Rosas was obviously the assistant GM in Houston underneath Daryl Morey. And what side of that he falls on or fell on, probably up for debate. But I would say that there's probably something there. Because I've seen a lot of people say, well, the new ownership's coming in place. The new ownership isn't taking hold until 23-24. So
how? Okay, let's try to let's map this out. Do you think that this is Ben Simmons related?
Probably 65% positive that there's Ben Simmons is playing a role in this.
So okay, In what way though? Like, hey, how dare you try to trade for Ben Simmons? Or, oh my gosh, why didn't you get Ben Simmons?
I think it was he wouldn't do it.
Mm.
Or they were trying to work something behind the scenes.
What were they giving up if they were firmly in the we're not giving up Russell, Edwards, and Towns? Who on that team is worth it for Philly?
Nobody. I think what it was is that Rosas didn't want to give up one of those guys, and ownership was more invested in it, or it's the other way around. I'm just not sure. I don't have a ton of great connections in Minnesota, so
how dare you?
Yeah, I know.
That's bad reporting,
right? That's how it goes. That's why I get fired. This from Nibble, you would think they would have given Cat a heads up, which is a pretty astute observation because that lets you know right there that this was not something that was planned.
No. This it sounds like somebody got caught in something, and it was like, well, you're gone. Bye.
Peace.
See you later.
Yeah. And so my phone blew up because again, NBA media is like high school. And the rumor mill behind the scenes goes nuts anytime something like this happens. Hey, what do you know? Hey, what do you know? Hey, what do you know? And it turned into, a lot of people heard a lot of things, but it didn't make any sense. That's for sure. What this means for the Timberwolves going forward, though, I don't know, man. That's it. It's very Timberwolvesy, right?
I would imagine Cat is going to be out there in a year. Within a year from right now, when we tape this podcast, I don't think he's going to be a Timberwolf.
Do you think he makes it past the trade deadline?
It depends how he takes this general manager thing. It really does hinge to me on like why was he fired versus like the owner didn't want something or did want something. When we figure that out, I think that will matter.
Yeah.
Yes, and if he was trying to make the team better and they were pissed off and something went down, then yeah, I don't know if he makes it past the deadline. I'm surprised he's still not asked for a request today. Tweeting out WTF when somebody's fired like that, it's a very, very poor representation of your organization.
Speaking of poor representations of your organization, sending out Doc Rivers to apologize for dogpiling on Ben Simmons, I don't know, 3 months later? Seems like a poor way to represent your organization, no?
How do you try to tell us you said something different than what we watched you say? We watched you say you weren't sure that you could win a championship with Ben Simmons. We basically watched you call him out for his bad play against Atlanta. Like, do you think we didn't watch television? It's very weird to me how we're getting away with such awful lying right now.
Just, you
in
had
society
him and Joel
in general, but it's like they both threw him under the bus, which is fine, but don't come back 3-4 months later and be like, I didn't say that thing you saw me say.
Yeah, and it's like, no. And here's the thing.
I thought honestly, I should have retweeted you. You know how I am. I'm lazy sometimes. I thought you had the best point. Who was that for?
Who's that apology for?
That doesn't help Ben Simmons at all. Ben Simmons doesn't care about that interview.
And it doesn't help the 76ers because now it looks like they're just trying to do damage control 3 months too late.
That's exactly what it was. And look, this is a whole other thing that's part of this topic. I think Daryl Morey's a good general manager.
Mm-hmm.
I should preface it by saying that. I think his media relationships have absolutely helped his reputation in a lot of situations.
He's
more
likable.
So than his performance.
He's likable.
He's very likable, but we almost anoint this dude as the best general manager in basketball. He's won 0 championships. He's failed to get to a
because he's
championship.
orchestrated some incredible trades.
Well, absolutely, but you know what he also does? He also never allows things to build, or he never takes into account the chemistry or the repercussions of said trade.
Yeah.
He thought Chris Paul, James Harden were going to be great. They played well together. They didn't fit personality-wise. Then he brings in Russ, which we're all kind of like, do you think you're going to win a title that way? I was interested and I had fun watching it. Dwight Howard, like there's a part of me that I know
he definitely likes to have guys that are divisive in the locker room. I'll say that.
Yeah, he just doesn't care about the things that I think you should care about for a basketball team. There is a medium between Neil O'Shea and Daryl Morey, and whoever that person is, it's probably Masai, but they're the perfect general manager for
Masai, Presti, those guys, RC Buford, guys that work in the background. I think that
Yeah.
I mean, I think those are probably your the 3 best in the league right now. I don't think you're going to get a ton of argument back and forth on those, do you?
What about Miami?
Yeah, but that's also a team.
Yeah.
Because
it's kind of like a Riley Spo combo.
Yeah, and then you've got the actual general manager. I can never remember his name because you never actually hear his name come up. God dang.
I didn't even know they had an actual general manager.
Yeah. No, Riles is the
president
or VP of the team. Like he's not.
Does he have like a partial ownership stake now
Yes,
too?
he does.
Yeah.
So, I slept fine last night would have pissed me off so much if I was Simmons. Yeah, like that whole thing from Doc was just a disaster. I sat there and I watched it. I was like, who is this for? Ben didn't just scorch the earth. He scorched the earth, went back to the bridge, found the powder that he burned the bridge with, and like, I don't know, man, used it to like light his hookah. Like it was just everything.
He Game of Thrones dragged the city.
Oh,
bro.
dude, and that's the thing. Of any city out there, you'd be like, I'm not going back to that place. Did you see the Missinelli clip?
Oh, I did see the Missinelli clip.
Yeah. The Philadelphia News, I think it was a Fox affiliate, showed a video clip of Ben Simmons leaving town, and they showed a dumpster floating down the river. That was before Ben Simmons made that comment.
I don't know what move Daryl makes here. Like, he's just going to have to
He's going to eat it.
He is going to have to eat it. It doesn't make any sense to keep him. It's over. This relationship is done. We've seen this play out in the league. Maybe he has a vendetta, but I can't buy that this is going to work. He has to trade him. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Go through the line. Lacob just got fined for saying we're not trading for Ben Simmons.
Well, not only are we not trading for Ben Simmons, like, we don't want him.
He can't play in the fourth quarter. We're not sure about that. So, like, the Warriors, they're out. The Timberwolves, they don't want to give up their young assets. Like, who do you give? I'm throwing them out. San Antonio. Who on San Antonio is honestly making Philadelphia a title contender? DeJounte Murray? Come on, man.
Murray and White is probably a decent offer.
We're not buying that, though, as a legit, that's a title move, okay? So maybe he doesn't
right now,
have any
CJ McCollum
options.
is the best player they can get for him.
But that's not happening. Neil's not making that move. It's
I don't
not
think so
Portland. It's not a Portland topic anymore. It is everybody else, but I don't know who those other people are.
And that's the thing is, I've seen people, well, Philly's got all the power here. They can just. Here's the thing. It's a distressed asset. And it's not like they can just wait this out, because what they're going to run into, they're in Joel Embiid's prime years. You can't waste this season. So this line that they're walking is, okay, we need to get as much as we can for Ben Simmons, which realistically should be a lot. Everybody wants he won't finish and he doesn't. Ben Simmons is the best defensive player in the NBA. And this is what I keep trying to emphasize to people. He doesn't try hard. He's not dedicated. And he's still the best damn defender in the NBA. Imagine. Allow yourself to dream. If he pulls his head out of his ass, what do you think that player is?
Well, I'll push back just on what you just said there. Doesn't try. I feel like that happened in the postseason. Once he kind of got into his own head, I feel like that was the point. But he was the defensive player of the year, in my opinion.
He
last
was,
year.
and he clamped the living hell out of Trey. Everybody wants to talk about, Trey this and Trey that. When Ben Simmons was on Trey shot 37% in the series.
Well, and you pointed to what their 3-point percentage numbers were with Ben on the floor.
Yeah.
Not like to act like they weren't really good last year, or to even, and I'm not taking a shot at you, but that's a narrative like that he didn't try last year. He tried. He played really well.
I think he tries. And when I say try, it's like the proverbial try. It's the whole idea of like the necessary work to get to the next level, because he's just so talented.
That's his critique, right? He doesn't put in the work and that's a problem. That's an absolute problem that I totally understand with Blazer fans and how they feel about that.
But he's also that dude already. He's already the best defender in the league. He's one of the 5 best passers and creators in the league. He's an incredible finisher. Like we're so quick to dismiss these things. Just be like, decide one way or the other. And it's like, guys, he's still a 3-time All-Star. And it wasn't like he was voted in by the fans. He was voted in by the coaches.
He's also an All-NBA guy. He should have been Defensive Player of the Year. I just think sometimes guys in cities don't mesh, and when they go somewhere else, they get a chance to flourish.
And I think it's a perfect example of it. I saw something in here. There was something about Powell. We've kind of addressed it before, but it's always a fair one to get in here. Joey asks, what do y'all think about Powell coming off the bench and having Nance slide into the starting lineup? Dame, CJ, Nance, Rocco, Nurk. We've hit this before. Powell got paid. CJ got paid. Neither one of those guys is coming off the bench. It will be 5 years before either of those guys come off the bench. That's just the pecking order of the NBA. That and neither Nance nor Rocco are small forwards. They're both 4.5s. So that's the kind of thing there. Do you have anything else on that one?
No, we talked about that 2 episodes ago.
Yep.
He's got paid too much money, and there's a lot of ego in pro basketball. He wants to start.
That's kind of how this goes. And that's the reason why we can circle back to the Blazers on this, in that training camp's coming up, and they've brought in dudes. Like, this is the most competitive training camp I've ever seen. They've got technically 2 spots, but they're really only going to use 1 right now. But you've got Quinn Cook, who's got championship experience. You've got Dennis Smith Jr., who's a former lottery pick. Marquise Chris, who's a former lottery pick. Like, they're bringing in guys who they're going to fight tooth and nail for that final spot.
Yeah.
I like this, right?
Oh, I mean, I don't, just to get guys ready and get them that experience. Like, yeah, why is it a bad thing to bring in a Quinn Cook who, say what he's been the last 2 years, but like that's a dude that was, he was on the Lakers, the Warriors a few times. Like, he's got some experience that's valuable, and I think it's always a good thing to bring in competition like that. I would rather them do the Michael Jordan, like kick each other's ass, and then when you go play the games, man, you're battle tested for each other because you went through that.
It makes sense. It's easier.
Camp. Yes.
This is going to sound really corny. I had a football coach who said, "Practice so hard the games seem easy."
Yep.
And I think that's kind of what they're looking to do here. Obviously, with the COVID stuff slowly regressing at least a little bit, you see the team bonding stuff that they used to do in the past. Dame used to take him to San Diego for their workouts. This year, the football camp and get everybody. This is optional right now that everybody's in town, and everybody is in town, which is insane to think about. Like everybody, Nurk came back from Bosnia. Everybody came back from their vacations or their whatever they're living in the off season, and they're getting after it. Like I am happy to see that.
Well, the other thing too that struck me is when they signed Quinn Cook, it wasn't like I was doing cartwheels, but I'm like, okay, that'll be interesting for camp.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that struck me too is this is the first Chauncey difference, right? This is a Chauncey thing. Chauncey has made it clear and we'll see how this plays out, but he says if you don't give the effort, your playing time, I'm going to chew you out. Like, he said that multiple times to where, all right, we're going to see how that plays out in the season. I think this is a start of it, though. I think this is the training ground. He knows what it was like to play with Detroit that year they won the title, and the next year that they almost won. They kicked each other's ass. They talked a lot of S in practice with Rasheed and Ben. Like, that's his experience. That's what he's bringing to the table. This is a Chauncey Billups thing. I think this is more Chauncey, more so even than Neil. I think this is kind of a, hey, go get me some guys, and whether they make it or not, it doesn't matter. Yes.
Like, I want some guys that are going to compete, because DSJ, Chris, Cook, they don't land here. They're looking for jobs.
And guess what DSJ and Quinn Cook are going to do in a practice? Not a game, but practice.
They're going to compete.
They're going to compete and bust Dame and CJ's ass in practice. They're going to take that personal. That's their MO. That's how you get a roster spot. So I think it gets the juices flowing even more a little earlier.
I'm genuinely excited about it, which, as far as like training camp is concerned, training camp, for those that don't know, is going to start up here on Monday. Or excuse me, not Monday, 28th. So was that Wednesday? Yeah. Tuesday or Wednesday. God.
6 days from right now.
Yeah, thank you.
Tuesday.
Yeah, because Monday's media day.
Monday's media day, yeah.
And then the following Saturday is Fan Fest, which should be fun. We had Greg Brown on the pod yesterday, and I didn't warn him. I'm debating texting him and warning him about what happens at halftime.
No, you can't do that. That's part of the initiation.
Let him know.
Hey, Greg, it's time to dance.
Yeah.
It's time to come do something stupid.
Come on down.
Let's go. It's going to go all over Bleacher Report.
2 years ago, we had Moses Brown when we were at Memorial Coliseum, and he got up there and sang.
Yeah.
And that was wonderful. Absolute pure joy. Pure unadulterated joy.
I love talent shows.
They are great. Nothing like getting rookies up there to just act a fool and get comfortable. Leslie asks, which of the training camp guys do you currently like the best? Who do you like?
Oh, man. Like guys that might not make the team.
I mean, who do you think is going to make the team from this group now? Does Quinn Cook getting added here, does that change your mind at all?
No, I don't think Quinn Cook makes it. Quinn Cook doesn't make sense to make it.
I found it a little bit surprising that they brought in another guard.
I wasn't stunned. I viewed it in exactly what we said. I think it was a competitive move. I think it was more of a competitive move. I think that's what it was about. It wasn't about the season. It wasn't about being a 15th man. It was.
But setting the tone.
Yeah, it's about, okay, we're not effing around this year. Like Quinn Cook won a championship. He's won multiple championships. We want to be a championship contender. Here we go. He's going to try to bust you.
Yeah, I think that's good as far as like what to expect and what we're looking at. Somebody asked, Leslie asked, is FanFest being streamed? I don't know, to be honest. I don't think in the past they have they?
And Roots still hasn't gotten a deal with YouTube TV yet, have they?
No,
it's
just Fubo.
Fubo.
Yeah. So in that respect, I don't know.
Well, I'm going through it right now. Trenton Wofford's not going to make it.
Well, he's on the two-way.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, so
he'll be there all season.
I don't even see where there's a spot for Quinn Cook. I'm going through the roster right now. I don't see it.
Well, it would be between him and Dennis Smith Jr. as far as the guards are concerned. I'm still leaning towards Chris because they have so many guys with injury histories in the front court.
Yeah, I don't know. I find those interesting. Those last couple spots on roster very interesting because they're normally not guys you ever see play, but it matters.
Well, here's the thing:
it ends up mattering at some point.
Even though it's the 14th spot, they're going to be ahead of Ellaby and anybody else. At the back end, like this is more like the 12th spot. Like if somebody gets in foul trouble, or if somebody picks up a foul,
or an injury,
or something like that, they could see minutes. And I think you're most likely culprits in that regard are your front court going down, right?
Yeah.
So I tend to lean towards that. Your mom, which is great, thank you for that. Your mom asks, what will the attendance requirements look like, I wonder, for the upcoming season? You need to have proof of your COVID vaccine or testing positive twice, I believe.
Oh, I don't know if it's twice or once.
Is it twice? That might be.
I thought it was once 72 hours away. But maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think you're right. I think there was another arena, another city that had twice in 72 hours or something like that.
Which, by the way, that rule itself, I know Portland's obviously drastically different in the fan bases. Oregon State, I guess, is not selling tickets. Like nobody's going to these games because their fan base doesn't want to go with either of those mandates.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a little different in Portland than Corvallis, but I'm genuinely kind of curious to see how close to capacity they get. I'd imagine it's not very hard to find 20,000 people.
I have a reeling suspicion that people are going to go.
I'm trying to go game one.
I will be there.
Well, you're going as media though, because you're a reporter.
You're an ass.
Who are you going to be sitting next to? You're going to be sitting next to reporters, aren't you?
Probably.
I'll be sitting with the people drinking beer.
Well, I mean,
and I'll just be like, hey,
I'll
I'm not
do that
reporting.
too, but I'll just have my pass in my pocket.
Maybe I'll bring a recorder and I'll drunkenly do a podcast with you in the stands.
That's how we should. You know what? We should do a live show from the stands.
Like a quick 30-minute. I'm probably going to be drunk while I'm talking, but like our just general thoughts of what we saw against the Kings.
Yeah, we'll do like a man on the street thing. We'll just like pull people in because that never backfires.
Okay, let me ask you, would you rather have Smith or Cook? Because I've been looking at their stats, and I'm not sure who I pick here.
Cook's the better shooter.
Right.
A little bit more under controlled. Smith's probably the better defender, the more aggressive guy.
I feel like Quinn is a little more reliable. Like, he's not going to create or do that kind of play.
And he's to be honest, Cook's more of like a 1-2 than a pure 1.
He's got a little CJ in him.
Yeah. And I think we look at this and go, it's another point guard. And I'm not sure if that's necessarily the case. I think Smith Jr. is more point guardy. I think he's a bit more aggressive defensively, athletically. He's lost a step, but he's still working his way there. So here we go. Nibble has it from Mark J. Spears. Trailblazers Rose Quarter will requiring all guests aged 12 and up attending any event in the Rose Quarter, including Winterhawks games, to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19 or provide proof of a negative COVID-19 PCR test within 72 hours of the event.
There you go.
And this is why I got vaccinated, so I can just go to the damn games.
My stance has always been feel how you feel. But if somebody says, "Hey, why'd you get vaccinated?" I go, "You know what? Let's just all do it. And if it goes bad, we all going bad together. You know what I mean? Party is over."
I'm wondering if my wife is going to grab my dog and keep her from barking at any point in time. So that's the good stuff. Normally she's pretty good, but
you know
she's
what?
not happy right now.
Cherish it. I don't have that problem anymore.
Oh, that's right, dude. That's a downer. Come on, man.
3 weeks today, actually.
Has it been 3 weeks already?
Yeah, hour and a half ago, 3 weeks ago today.
I'm sorry, man. For those that don't know, Sprague lost a longtime family dog, and
I
sucks.
also feel like losing a pet is underrated in the grief scale. Like I feel like I lost my dog 3 weeks ago, and I'm still hurt by it. But everybody else is kind of just like my kids have moved on.
Oh, dude.
I think people think you should be over it by 3 weeks, and it's like I still go on my walk that I used to walk with her, and I'm like, I still think about her.
Yeah. No, oh, dude. No. And this is gonna be a major downer part of the podcast, but it took me 6 months to get over mine. Like that dog was with me every day for 15 years.
Yeah, this was my first dog.
Yeah.
Like, I had her for 14 years.
Yeah. No, never fun. And hey, man, I hope you get well with that. So, because that sucks. It does. And yeah,
it does suck. But to your dog barking problem, you can hear it, but it's not that bad.
So it's still like we've lived here for 6 months now. Actually, yeah, 6 months. I've been married a year and 6 days, which is insane to think about.
Hey, congratulations.
Hey,
the
right?
First year is the hardest.
Is it? Because it's been pretty. I mean, mine's been pretty easy. Just a new house, COVID, wildfires. Very run-of-the-mill normal stuff in your first year of marriage. God. But yeah, like the house is it's a farmhouse, and then we don't have a ton of furniture in here yet. So every time she barks or anytime there's any kind of noise in the house, it just like echoes like, and we have wood floors, so it just like reverberates through everything.
Oh yeah.
Dimitri wants to know if it's possible to release Ellaby. Yeah, I mean they could, but they won't because he's under contract and it costs some money. So, but yeah, I feel like there's probably some buyer's remorse there.
I think he's going to be in a suit a lot this year.
Oh God, yeah. And listen, I'm not saying that as like a negative thing to him. I hope he figures it out. I have yet to. Summer League was rough for him, man.
He looked like
he shouldn't be there, like, and not in a good way.
I've used this term before, and I don't mean it as a knock, but the best comp I can think of, he kind of reminds me of Eric McCollum. If he plays overseas somewhere, I could see him doing really well, but just not quite NBA level,
No, I mean that makes sense. That's Hazonia. Hazonia's a god overseas right now.
Yeah,
like it's not you can go overseas and get money and have all the fame and everything. It's not a bad thing. Like it's a good place to be. There was a couple of other questions that I wanted to get to in here. Again from your mom. Do you guys believe we improved defensively this year? Will it take a toll on our offense? What say you?
So I think by the personnel, you would say yes to this. I am one that is a little more skeptical. I also think we assumed Chauncey was this huge defensive guru, and he's already basically alluded to the fact that he doesn't know defense, so he's going to be looking to Roy Rogers and Scott Brooks for help. The personnel could be better. I need to see it. I'm one that I want to see.
We've had too many years of cliches.
Yes.
We'll be better. This will be better. And it's like, will you?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the defense was going to be not that bad last year because of DJ and Rocco. I probably overestimated DJ's ability to stay on the floor, but still, I thought it was going to be better. It got worse. So I think naturally, my guess is that it is better, but I also would like to see it before feeling concrete about any of that.
Yeah, and preseason is going to be really interesting because it's new system, new verbiage. How they're gonna do things and what they might show. Last year, for those that aren't aware, they did a ton different. It just looked really bad. It looked really, really bad. Dame was gimpy. Nurk was out of shape. They were trying to be more aggressive, and it was a disaster. And everybody's like, "Oh, they're running the same things." No, they weren't. They were trying to run everything. A bunch of new coverages defensively, being more aggressive, playing above the level, helping from outside the nail. Like they were trying to do stuff. It was just a disaster. And so they just went back to the nuts and bolts.
I did see one writer from Rip City Project
name is I'm blanking. I'll look it up, but suggests that this is the strongest bench since when. And that one kind of caught me off because I was like, I don't feel like the bench is that good.
No.
So I didn't really.
It's more balanced than it has been in the past, perhaps. But
yeah, on paper.
And here's the but. You and I have talked about player evaluation a ton. What's the thing that I always say? What is it that you do that gets you on the floor? You look at that bench unit. They've got a guy who can score in Anthony Simmons. They've got a utility guy in Larry Nance Jr. They've got a big who can do the screening, put back, very complimentary big stuff in Zeller. Who's going to create?
That's a $1 million question.
Like CJ's going to be out there running that unit. Dame's probably going to get some stagger time in that unit, but you would like to see. That's where you want to see Ant step up, and that's where
it should be.
Yes, and that's where how they figured out the difference between those units and how they're going to run things is going to be really interesting.
Stevie Kozians. I hope I butcher names. I
think it's Cousins.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I thought so. This is from We Missed Some Shots. The Warriors won the championship the very year they switched to Steve Kerr as coach, which is a strong coincidence to introducing a third Hall of Famer into that. That same team, that same group, Luke Walton won 28 straight games with. Luke Walton's a great coach too, right? No? Okay.
I think Mike Brown went undefeated as the head coach in Steve Kerr's absence too.
It's personnel, guys. Like this is not an argument I want to get into with this. Like every single time we talk about coaching changes.
Look, I know we've gone long already, but I just want to throw out there. I listen to some of the when Zach Lowe talks, I like to listen to it, and Jackie McMullen. So they were on Simmons pod, and they basically were running through the West, and they picked their sleeper to win the West or whatever. And I thought Zach made a really good point of there's really good teams in theory, but the West could be as open as it's ever been.
The Lakers are old.
Right. Kawhi's probably not playing this year.
Yep.
Jamal, we have no idea when he's coming
probably
back.
Like around Valentine's Day. It's going to be a while.
Utah got exposed for playing Gobert. Like Phoenix, is Chris Paul really going to be that good again?
Are they going to be that healthy this season?
Right. So I thought it was a really good point. It made me think a little bit. They went with like a Phoenix and a Luka, and I understand why. But, Richmond said this to me years ago on my radio show, and shame on me for not thinking of it, but I thought it was a great point by him. I asked 2 years ago, I said, Mike, what do you think the long-term plan is here? CJ one more year, and then they punt? What do they do? And he basically goes, Brandon, there's been zero indication he's willing to trade CJ. They're going to hope to be the Dallas Mavericks, that they just keep this together forever. And even when people question it, they keep it together. And there's 1 year where they're finally able to break through. And I'm not saying they're going to, but I thought it was a good point by Zach. And it makes me think a little bit of what can this team be if they stay healthy versus the rest of the Western Conference.
I still don't think they had the top end talent to genuinely be that. And that's the thing is like Dirk's a top 20 player of all time. I think that's what changes everything around.
So is Jason Kidd, even though he was old. He was still really good.
Yeah, and I mean, you had Jet and you had
Tyson Chandler.
There was a
Sean Marion.
There's a lot of dudes on that team, and
it's
also
an underrated squad.
Also, Dirk had an NBA Finals run for the ages. One of the best Finals runs we've ever seen.
Don't you feel like we look back at that title collectively as a fan or as fans or media, and it kind of gets like it was Dirk and nobody else, and you're like,
it does get talked about in that regards, and it's like, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that Dirk was in God mode.
He was insanely hot. Yes,
like that's I think what carries it. The guy who asked the question about the Warriors says what was the player change? It was the same roster. No, it wasn't. David Lee was injured to start the season. They put Draymond Green, the other Hall of Famer, in that lineup. That's a significant difference.
When did they get Iggy too?
The year before, going into that season. Yeah, I mean they have Iggy's probably the edge of Hall of Famers. Sean Livingston was one of the best role players. Andrew Bogut was still a fantastic player. Harrison Barnes was a rookie. Draymond Green came out of nowhere. That team was disgusting. Culture, system's important. This is going to be a different basketball team. That's fine. They still have a talent deficit. Like I'll use this as
Well,
an
but
example.
but Danny, somebody and I, I know how I feel about this, but just to play devil's advocate to that person, or for that person to you, I agree with your theory, but man, people really are pointing. They're really like this narrative of this is what they were when they played together. That's got people thinking that this team is going to be better than people like you and I maybe think that they're going to be.
I don't think there's an outside reality that can be better than I think they're going to be. But I think there's a massive gap between the impact that a coaching staff is going to have and reality. That's what I think the disconnect is. Because I have this team winning 46, 47 games. That's where I keep landing. Which, ironically, the Warriors distorted what winning 50 games is like by winning, 73 games. Winning 50 games is stupid hard. It doesn't happen. Like, you look back in the entire existence of this franchise, I think they've won 50 or more 5 times. Once every 10 years. And this is a franchise that has one of the best winning percentages in the NBA since they've been founded. It's hard to win 50 games. But because you get the idea of what the Warriors did and how simple they've made winning 60, winning 70 games look. That's how it goes. I don't think that's accurate. It's entirely accurate as far as Draymond Green being involved.
Well,
David Lee was hurt to start the season, and Draymond was put in.
Yeah, let me add on the West thing, like you mentioned, is Phoenix going to stay healthy? Like, these are all valid things to ask about every team every year. But there is an element of truth to the team that stayed healthy one year largely struggles to stay healthy the next year.
Yeah.
The Warriors are an outlier situation, right?
They picked up some nasty injuries over the last couple of years, but before that, they had a run of very good health over like a 4-year stretch.
A historic run of health.
But before that, they had a pile of injuries before that. Remember, Steph was almost a near bust because of his ankles.
The ankles, yes.
That's what people tend to forget. He was missing piles and piles of games. That's the thing. That's what's so frustrating. It's like there's so much luck involved with figuring that out that it's like, but the Blazers haven't done themselves a ton of favors in this regard by bringing in guys that don't have the cleanest bills of health throughout their career, particularly in the front court.
There's no doubt about that. But I'm playing the what if game. Like it's a tiny window. It's a small window that I don't think really exists, but it's not an impossibility for them to be in a position to shock a lot of people if the Lakers are truly as old as we say, and Anthony Davis can't stay healthy.
Which are all things that very well within the realm of possibility.
There is no Kawhi Leonard, and that Clipper team is a little different. You can say they played well against Phoenix without Kawhi, sure.
They played commendably. I think that's the best way I can put that.
I don't know what that looks like for 82 games. Utah just had a meltdown, and I think there's an element of truth of how did they respond to getting beat last year, because they got called out pretty hard once they got eliminated. Gobert couldn't be put on the floor. That's fair. Dallas, nobody's trusting Dallas. You're not trusting Memphis yet. Denver is going to be
one of those
more.
teams is going to be way worse, and one of those teams is going to be way better. And that's and if you want to give the Blazers the credit, they're likely going to be in a better position because, for the most part, the roster is roughly the same. And that's why I keep leaning on the idea of, like, they're going to be what they're going to be. Somebody said something in here that I could see the Blazers being top 10 or top 3 in offense and top 10 in assists. A coach does not change how a player plays, particularly a 29 or 30, excuse me, CJ just turned 30. Dame and CJ are 30 years old. This idea that Chauncey Billups in his first year is going to come in and fundamentally change what has made Damian Lillard one of the most famous and impressive basketball players of this generation is laughable. Genuinely, it is. Because this idea that all of a sudden Dame is going to change what has made him so successful through 10 years and scrap that. It doesn't happen in the NBA. There's nowhere you can point to where that happens. Nowhere. It does not happen. Everybody wants to point, well, to Steve Kerr and Steph in the Warriors. Steph was 24, 25 years old. That's the difference. You're not getting 30-year-old dudes to change that. Now, could Chauncey come in and get them to move the ball a little bit better? get them to commit a little bit more defensively? Yes. Yes. Unquestionably. How impactful that is going to be, that's the question that I have going into this.
Yeah.
But do you see? Can you point to somewhere? And let's go modern NBA in the last 20 years, where a coaching change has come in, and you've gotten a in prime veteran to fundamentally change how they play the game. All-star.
No.
Guys are who they are because
I can't think of one.
And they got there because of who they are. Now, getting stuff on the margins, I 100% agree. I 100% agree that not only like or as possible, it's likely. That's the thing. And here's a great point. Either way, I'm just excited to see something different. I could 100% get behind that, right? Like seeing a different look for a franchise.
I hope it's different.
Okay.
I mean, but that's the thing is,
how different do you think it'll be? With Chauncey and having a few different guys in there personnel wise, what are the things that jump out?
Not that different, because there's a lot of guys that I can't trust to play 82 games. So you're going to be dealing with the same situations that you're banging your head against the wall. Nurkic, is he going to play more than 60? Is Zeller going to play more than 60? I just, you don't have those guys playing, what are you? What are you without CJ if he gets hurt again? Like because once you do hit 30, you're on the wrong side of health, right? Like it's a ticking clock, and you hope these guys go another 10 years, because I like watching them play basketball.
Sure.
But if they get injured again, like, are they going to be better? I think it's you want to see different from an optimistic viewpoint.
But different isn't always better. That's the flip side.
You do not know if it means it's going to be better. That's where I kind of still sit back and go, well, we'll see.
Everybody is giving each other flowers right now because it's the new teacher in town, right? So I
also don't think the fans have a choice.
Well, I'm just saying, even from the players, like this is the honeymoon phase. Like the article from Quick on Nurk is just nothing but glowing reviews. What happens when the adversity hits?
Nurkic isn't great there.
No, exactly, and that's what I'm saying. It's gonna be interesting because for all of Terry's faults, when things were going sideways, you know what you never heard? Anything from anyone.
Yeah.
How does that look under this regime? It's going to be interesting to see how that goes, because even the best teams run into adversity.
Oh, every year. It's a long season.
So how does it start? If they start off on the wrong foot this season with all of the backlighting of Damian Lillard, will he stay? Will he go? Does that snowball, and does that impact things? Does Nurk's contract, there's so many things that are out there that we want to just put the blinders on about, and I don't know if that's necessarily the best way to go about it. Now, for fandom, sure.
Yeah. Well, but with fandom specifically, because we're kind of talking about that, they don't have a choice. Like, the choice is to not care about the team that they love to watch and watch Damian Lillard, or be mad so don't watch. Like, that's not realistic for Blazer fans.
No.
Like, I've lived here my whole life. They're always going to follow. The only years they didn't was those couple years, and it only lasted 2 seasons, and then they got right out of that. This fan base cares too much. So whether that person is ultimately right or not, we'll wait and see. But I also don't think in that, he or she's situation, they don't have a choice, because it's their team. What are they going to not watch? Of course. So why not spin it in a way to make yourself get excited about still watching your team?
And the flip side of it that is, when has any team ever made a coaching team across sports and then you not be excited about the new coach? You know what I mean? Like, can and I should say specifically a coach being dismissed. Because a coach, I think you could say pretty easily, like at Oregon, locally, Chip Kelly leaving and Helfrich stepping in, people were kind of not thrilled about that.
There were a lot of people that lied to themselves about how good he was.
But that's exactly my point, is that no matter what, especially when a coach is dismissed or fired or whatever, you want to mutually part ways, and the new guy comes in, new guy's always better. New guy's always better in everybody's mind. And
Well, it's also been a long stint for Terry. 9 years is a long time.
that's a long time for any coach, let alone
Right.
a coach that didn't win a title.
Right. So, and that was going to be my next point is it makes it even better when you're replacing a non-legendary coach. Like, good luck to whoever takes over Alabama for Nick Saban. You know what I mean? When you get those situations, then it's like, well, I'm going to wait 3-4 years.
Nobody
Ryan
wants
Day
to be
at
that.
Ohio State.
Nobody wants that first job.
Nobody wants the first job. You're almost set up to fail. I'm not saying Billups is going to fail. I'm just saying it's not that level of coach you're replacing. It is we were good. We were never great. You have one of the best players in the NBA, so here you go.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. Corey says, don't think Maverick fans are excited about the new coach, but that's kind of what you just hit on. Rick Carlisle won an NBA title.
He got you a championship, yeah.
But I would say that the vast majority of Mavericks fans as a whole still look at Jason Kidd as beloved. We missed some shots. It's really fighting me on the Draymond Green thing. Go and take a look and see how many games Draymond Green started. That's what I'm getting at here. David Lee was hurt, so Draymond Green started. Guys, this is how it goes. I know you want to believe in stuff that's just like, yes, it's fun to get excited about and all that kind of thing. But you talk to folks. Damian Lillard himself said it. The coaching change was is not enough. The man himself said this.
I just find that position odd. Like when we have actual people that matter the most telling us it's not good enough, we're still arguing with each other on Twitter about if it's good enough. It's like Damian Lillard was like, the roster, we didn't really make any moves that I wanted. I don't think we really got better. I know he didn't say that exactly, but he basically said that. And we'll still get people on Twitter that are like, made really good moves considering their position they were in. It's like, not according to the best player who's actually going to be on the court.
Not according to the guy whose opinion matters the most. So, listen, as far as the Jason Kidd stuff, I think we could all agree that as a whole, nobody likes Jason Kidd in the NBA fandom world, and nobody really thinks he's a great coach. Like, if you want to read some terrifying stuff, go read Miran Fader's book about Giannis.
The Giannis book. Wow.
It's some stuff. Joey says, "Thank you, Sprague. Amen." But yeah, it's. How would Damian know he's only had one coach in the NBA?
That's a great response. That's a fantastic response.
You know,
that's almost like we just end the show right with that comment. I think that's
guys. I
love that. Are we both under the assumption that's sarcasm, right?
I hope so, or it's a really good troll job. You got me to roll my eyes really well. Like that's the kind of stuff like you lose me. I understand fandom. Like if there's one thing that if I could do anything as it pertains to covering the Portland Trailblazers is that I could go back 7-8 years, be a unabashed fan of this team. You do get a little bit jaded. You do like some of the shine falls off, but it does suck in that regards, right, Brandon? When you're like covering a team, you do lose that ability to just be like, nah, I'm gonna believe in this team.
Well, see, this never makes sense to some people, but I have fandom.
Yeah, I do too.
But I will always, doing this job, I will always be as honest about something as I can be. And I'll never try to sugarcoat any, or I'm an Oregon State football fan. Do you know how bad we've been my entire existence? I wasn't a fan as a kid. I didn't have any allegiances to it. I went to the school. Hell, when I was at the school, I didn't even really care. It was when I graduated, I missed it. I met my wife there.
You gravitate towards it.
You gravitated towards it. You know, you don't have it in your life. I can tell you that they're not great. I can tell you I'm nervous about them getting blown out at USC.
And it's okay.
And it's okay because it doesn't ultimately ruin the fact that I still care.
Or that
I
you're a
still
fan.
root for the Blazers, but I don't go, well, I like the Blazers and I want them to be a title contender. So I'm going to come out here and be like, hey guys, I really think they can win a title this year. Honestly, I don't, but we've been wrong about worse things, I guess.
One question here about outsiders. Is Blazers Outsiders Joe Simons going to still be on NBC Sports Northwest this season? No, NBC Sports Northwest is shutting down in a week. So No.
R.I.P. R.I.P.
Joe and I have some stuff cooking that hopefully we'll be able to talk about here in a little while. I guess we'll kind of wrap on here because we're hitting about an hour and a half and get you out of here. We got Anthony Simons tomorrow. So if you guys have got questions, DM me, hit me up on Twitter. I tweeted something out a little while ago. I'll check it before I get down with him. I think I took like 10, 11 questions for Greg, and Greg loved him. He particularly loved the question that you asked him. I won't bring that up because you get to play that one on the show, which was great. You managed to get Greg completely sideways, so that was fantastic. But I can't get out of here without this. Are we putting an Abby's Pizza on USC or Oregon State? Not straight up. I'll give you the points. I'll give you the points. I'll give you the points.
Here, I'm gonna be very fair on this.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, pull the line.
I'm going to VegasInsider.com right now.
Okay.
I'm going to pull up the line. I'm going to go the consensus line, not one specific
No,
book,
that's fine.
The consensus.
I'll pull it up right alongside you.
The consensus right now for Oregon State USC is
13.5.
Bro, it's 11. That is dangerous. Bet is on.
Okay.
I will take Oregon State plus the 11.
Remember the Washington State game when I texted you and I said, they're either going to go in there and absolutely demolish them or get embarrassed. And
Danny,
for a quarter, it looked like they were going to get embarrassed. And then they came out and dump truck them.
We do Pac-12 picks against the spread every week on the radio show, and I picked them to cover, 12 or 11? Because programs like USC, I always vote that they're going to come out and kick ass the next week because they're finally free of the douchebag coach. When they got down 14-0, I remember thinking, I hate this team. And I hate life.
I tweeted out, I hate college football. And then they scored. I'm like, college football is okay. And then they scored again. I'm like, I love college football. They scored again. I'm like, college football is the best, baby.
You might have the most quarterback-worthy name in all of college
Jackson
football,
Dart
too.
is fantastic.
Jackson Dart
and running the one eye black. So all right, so there it is, little handshake bet on an Abby's Pizza, and for it was 11, right?
11.
Okay.
Well, hold on, let me double check, make sure it's not 11 and a half.
Yeah, I was saying
it's 11.
Okay,
it's 11.
We will go with 11.
Oof.
You like that? A confidence meter. How are you feeling about that?
I talked with Mike Parker, the voice, and I told him I feel like they're going to win. And I think there's an element of USC played really well. They're going back to Slovis, though, which is a mistake in my opinion. And
well, that's because Jackson's banged up.
So he can't play at all?
I believe he's got a rib.
Well, that's really unfortunate luck for you guys. I don't think Keaton Slovis is a very nice kid. I talked to him at Pac-12 Media Day.
Slovis vacillates
nice.
Between being a consensus top 5 pick in the NFL draft and a 4th round pick.
And I would lean he's more the 4th round pick in my opinion.
And it's so frustrating.
I could be wrong on that. I think Oregon State's got the offense going with Chance Nolan. I really think the Beavs, they haven't won in LA since September 16th, 1960. They break that.
Good Lord. Has it been that? I knew it had been a long time. I didn't realize it was that long.
And they largely get blown out when they go to LA. There's this weird thing where USC, when they play Oregon State at home, they just weirdly always get up for that game. And Oregon State, when USC comes to Corvallis, always gets up for that game because it's USC.
Yeah, that one makes sense. And of course, this is on Jack Ramsays, the college football podcast. But that's a little bet between a USC guy and an Oregon State guy. Thank you guys for stopping by. I appreciate it. Again, we're going to try to do these on Wednesday nights. We're going to have some stuff for Media Day. I'll debating on whether or not I'm going to cover FanFest on site or here. It depends. Moving around with my leg right now. I don't know if I can move around in the concourse all that well. We'll see. Media Day is a little bit different because it's not going to be a billion people in there. Because if somebody runs into me when I'm navigating Moda, I'm going to beat them to death. If I get set back with his leg one more time, I'm going to kill somebody. So, but yeah. If you haven't already, like, rate, review, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do that. Like I said, I do have the interview with Anthony Simons coming out tomorrow. I am efforting a few other guys. If you haven't already, please check out the Greg Brown interview. Greg was a ton of fun. I wasn't entirely sure what to expect because, 19-year-old kid, not a ton of experience, was not shy at all, and got some great answers out of him. He's clearly got some people around him that are guiding him in the correct manner. You could pick that up. So highly recommend. Like I said, I've got a few other ones coming. I finally had the Damian Lillard piece getting ready to come out. My leg caused some problems, and I didn't really write or do any video for almost 2 weeks. So had to take a little bit of recovery time. But Brandon, let everyone know what you got coming up for the rest of the week, and we'll kind of get out of here with that.
We got college football, NFL on the radio show, Dirt and Sprague, 6 to 9 a.m. on 1080 The Fan tomorrow, and obviously Friday. Football Fridays on The Fan are always fun. We'll talk with Mike Parker on Friday. We got a lot of picks to give you guys.
Go
and
Beavs.
Then rate, review, subscribe. RRS, the Jacked Ramsays podcast. Please leave a review, even if it means Sprague sucks or I don't like the podcast. Just leave a review. Give us 5 stars. Help us continue to build this thing. We got some things that kind of in the hopper that we're hoping can come to fruition. And so we appreciate all the support that we've gotten so far. And on Sunday, I'll be on the Odyssey app, BetQL Network, and all over the country on different radio stations doing Back to the Futures on the BetQL Network, doing some sports gambling, basically NFL recap, Sunday at 5 o'clock Pacific.
All right, as always, folks, you can catch me on social media at Danny Meringue across everything except for Instagram because I can't get the squatter off at D Meringue. I have a TikTok. I haven't used it. I won't use it.
Don't follow him on TikTok.
Don't. I mean, you could, but
no,
I don't recommend it. But like I said, I've got the interview with Anthony Simmons. I've got the Damian Lillard piece getting ready to come out. Hopefully, we'll have at least 1, maybe 2 more players before preseason really gets underway, and then we'll kind of go from there. We Miss Some Shots says, love the show, guys. I'm just a stubborn Blazers fan. Hey, listen.
Hey, we're here to talk.
It's entirely allowed. I'm gonna give you hell for it. Brandon is gonna go, and I'm gonna give you hell about it. That's what I do. It's all good. It genuinely is.
I love to hear all the viewpoints of everything. Like there's things that people say, and I'm like, I never thought about that before.
Yeah, and that's true. And even if I don't think you're right or I think you're insane, it's not necessarily right or wrong. It's like how far outside the spectrum that you operate. At least for me, I still want to hear it because some people be like, I'm the one who's being unreasonable. And I'll be like, no, it's not me. It's the kids. Go full Principal Skinner with it, right?
We may need, depending on what your takes end up being throughout the season, there may need to be a segment created during the pod once a week called Douchebag Danny. And they're just like, hey, Douchebag Danny, you were wrong about this. Hey, Douchebag Danny, you're wrong.
You know what's funny? We did something along these lines on Outsiders in like year 1, and they pocketed it because I got a ton in a row right to start it off. And they're like, no, we can't make fun of him for this. What's funny is, like, the next month I got, like, I went, like, 2-19 over a 21-game stretch. And, of course, they piled it on there. So,
oh, of course.
But, yeah, it was fun. But until then, we'll catch you guys on Sunday for the Mailbag Pods. If you want to get your generic mailbag questions in, jackedramsays@gmail.com. You can DM me on Twitter at Danny Meringue. You can reply to the tweets on Jacked Ramsays or at Danny Meringue. You can send him to Sprague. He probably won't notice them, and he'll be like, oh, that's what that is. Where's the lie? And shout out to Abby's Pizza, who's not officially sponsoring the show, but, I mean,
they're our unofficial partner.
Remember, if you're going to order from Abby's Pizza, use the checkout code Jacked Ramsays just to let them know.
0% off, but a hell of a smile.
Yep, and we'll catch you guys next time, and take care. Have a good week, and we'll talk soon. Bye.